the latest missile test by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. For more, we go live to our correspondent in Pyongyang, Rafael Wober, is with CGTN, the senior video journalist there. Ralph, good to see you there. You've been reporting from inside the DPRK for 15 years. In fact, when I first started the CGTN Beijing office, we worked together on that. So for this failed missile launches, usually the North Korean state media are quiet. What are they saying this time around? Any response from them?
Great to hear from you and to say hello from a rather wet, cold and windy morning in Pyongyang. Well, after that launch on Sunday, the DPRK has not said anything yet, as far as I'm aware. That's not surprising, as you say. When there's a failure, they don't normally come out with anything. There was one exception to that going back 5 years ago, when after an attempt to launch a satellite back in April 2012, which failed, on the same day the DPRK did come out with a statement very quickly. But apart from that occasion, that's the only time I can remember where the DPRK came out to say something about a failure. Of course, we also saw just perhaps about a week and a half ago or 10 days ago, a similar case like what happened on Sunday, where there was a launch of a missile detected by the US and the South Koreans, and they said it failed, and the DPRK didn't say anything about that one. So at the moment, we've gone through about 24 hours since the launch was detected this time round on Sunday, and I don't think that the DPRK, there's no indication that the DPRK is going to come out with anything to say about this one this time.
Well, Ralph, actually, over the years, people have been speculating about the real nuclear capabilities of the DPRK. According to Western sources, they're saying that it takes 3 stages for the country to launch a successful nuclear attack on continental United States, and the DPRK has not even grasped stage number 1, which is to carry a nuke or a ballistic missile from a rocket. From your vantage point, you've been there for 15 years. What are the real capabilities of the DPRK side regarding their ballistic missile or nuclear technologies?
Yes, I think there is endless speculation about this, and of course different analyses come out from US intelligence agencies or South Korean authorities at different times. I think the best way to look at it is, first of all, we have not seen a missile test which has flown far enough to hit the continental US mainland. Of course, there was the test where there's the expectation that that kind of missile could go as far as Guam, which would mean a threat to the US in a different way to the US bases in the Asia Pacific, like in the south of Korea and Japan. But there are those US assets in the Pacific which could be targets already for DPRK missiles. And the next point, which has had a lot of attention, is the miniaturization of the warhead. So even if you've got a missile to fly all the distance, can you make and even if you can test a nuclear device, which the DPRK has done 5 times already, can you miniaturize that thing to put it onto the missile so it can hit a target far away? And last year, the DPRK did have a very prominent kind of photo op of the leader Kim Jong-Un having a look at what was said to be a nuclear warhead suitable to go on a missile. However, outside, foreign analysts haven't been able to confirm whether this is possible. I think that the best way to summarize this is to think of an example from a few years back when the US nuclear scientist Siegfried Hecker, who is well respected, he's made several trips here to the DPRK. He came here and went to one of the DPRK's main known nuclear facilities at Yongbyon and was shown a very, what he said, modern and impressive centrifuge facility to make uranium, to enrich uranium. And before he saw that, there was no public awareness, public knowledge that the DPRK had that capability, and he was impressed and surprised by it. So I think that for any analysis, ultimately have to assume the most extreme possibility that, yes, somehow perhaps they do have that capability, even though it's not something, there hasn't been a test which has convinced foreign analysts yet. But up till now, the best guess is that the DPRK has the material, the nuclear material, it has its missile program, and it is moving ever more quickly towards the capability to combine those two things to make an effective nuclear warhead on a missile.
Before I let you go, Ralph, let me ask you one last question. You've been there, like I said, for over a decade. We've seen reports coming out of the country, the DPRK, suggesting that the leader Kim Jong-Un has significantly consolidated his power. We saw lots of reports coming from the domestic political side. How do you see it that way? Because many see that foreign policy in North Korea, the DPRK, is just an extension of its domestic politics. What would the DPRK do next?
First of all, I think that we've seen since the end of 2011, when the former leader, the last leader passed away, now we've gone through 5 years of the DPRK under Kim Jong-Un, and although going back decades there were analysts guessing that the country would not survive the breakup of the Soviet Union, it's still here, and now there is a new leader in charge. And I think that for domestic policy, certainly on the economic side, there's been a lot of development. It's not called reform here, it's new economic management methods is the kind of basic term for it used in Korean here, but that's made a big difference. While that has been developing, the kind of the system which promotes a dynastic bloodline of leadership and very tightly controls and regiments society and keeps a big separation between Koreans here in the DPRK and the outside world, that rigidity is very much still here. Then when it comes to foreign policy, of course, we've seen the series of missile tests and nuclear tests stepped up in pace and ferocity since the time when Kim Jong-un was installed in power back in 2012. So that has created a kind of deepening standoff with the outside world, while at the same time the DPRK has tried occasionally overtures of friendship or overtures of holding out sort of olive branches, but they've never, it's always failed to work. So I think that the international scene is very, very difficult, and we can only at the moment hope for negotiations behind the scenes which could lead to some kind of breakthrough, but they're not apparent yet.
Certainly a difficult situation there. Rafael Wober, live for us in Pyongyang, the DPRK. Thank you so much.